What is happening, all YouTube warriors out there? Range Day Bro back at it again, and today I have a very special scope comparison video for you guys, going over the Arken Optics SH4 Gen 2 versus the Primary Arms SLX 4-14 first focal plane. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so this one is going to be kind of a first look more than a review, a true comparison per se. I'm just going to give you guys my first impressions of the two scopes that I have sitting in front of you today. Obviously, you guys have seen this scope from my last Mark 12 video. This is the SLX from Primary Arms with the R-Grid 2B reticle. It's a 4-14 first focal plane rifle scope. And here we have the Arken Optics. This is the SH4 Gen 2. So this one is very highly anticipated because they're a brand new company that kind of came out right as COVID happened. A lot of people have said a lot of things about this scope, saying how it is the best bang for the buck. It's like a $1,000 scope and under the $500 price range. And so I couldn't help but notice, and I couldn't help but order one myself and try to find out if the hype was real. And I gotta say, first impressions, the hype is somewhat real. Now, I haven't actually shot this guy yet, but I will just tell you from the fit and finish, from just seeing it, unboxing it, kind of messing around with it, messing with the turrets, as you can hear, I'm very impressed with it. It does have a little bit of a more premium feel to it than the Primary Arms, which, again, this is the lowest level of the Primary Arms. Let's just get price out of the way. This is a $450 scope, but it came with all the attachments you see here. It came with a sunshade, which is threaded on here. Quite a bit shorter without that, but I have it on here, and it came with these scope caps. They're pretty nice. I mean, they're not atom mounts, but pretty nice for being free. I used the code SAVE150 when I ordered it, and it came with a throw lever, the bubble mount. It came with the 20 MOA 34 millimeter single piece mount, which is pretty impressive. It's great, got a great quality fit and finish on it. The screws look like they're painted with some kind of cheap paint, and it's kind of already coming off a bit. But besides that, I'm pretty impressed with it. But before I get into too much of the specifics on either, let me just go over the general specs on both. As I mentioned, the SLX from Primary Arms, this is a 4-14, whereas the Arken is going to be a 4-16. They're both first focal plane. They both have parallax adjustment. They both have illumination, which we'll talk about illumination. And they both have adjustable turrets. This guy does not have a zero stop. This guy does have a zero stop, but they both are pretty badass entry-level scopes for the tactical market. They both have a Christmas tree type reticle. This guy has the ACSS designed by Primary Arms, Dimitri, I believe it is. And I love their reticles. I really freaking love their reticles. They both have really tactical turrets. So let's just hear these guys. Pretty good sounding turrets on both. They both have return to zero, so you can adjust your turrets, bring them back to zero. Now, I would just say flat out, the elephant in the room of these turrets, these are like cartoonish. They are so big. I guess it's good for if you need to quickly look up and identify where you're at, if you're zeroed or if you're off. But they are just massive turrets. They kind of look cartoonish. They look like your dad's phone. When you look at your dad's phone and all the text is like so much bigger than the text on your phone that you're normally used to seeing. That's kind of what these turrets look like. Now they do feel good fit and finish, but they're almost cartoonish, just like they're for your blind uncle who can't see anything. I can't complain on them too much. It is a really impressive, for the price point, out of the box scope. Let's just continue real quick. So for the price, this came at $450 with that discount code. So just take that into consideration. If you had to buy the scope for $450 and then purchase your own mount and things like that, it's going to cost you more. But let's just assume that they're still running this deal like I got it for $450. Everything you see, it's not a bad deal. And I'll roll in some footage of the reticles and the glass clarity as best as I can. I don't have too much time on either of these scopes. It's kind of, like I said, a first impression. But I was going to return this Primary Arm scope until I took it to my sniper class. And during that class, the teacher, the instructor, actually owns one of these. He said he doesn't use it for any serious use, but he uses it on kind of one of his hunting guns that he keeps in his truck or in his tractor when he's working his land out there. Obviously, to be a sniper instructor, you need a lot of land to shoot on. So he used this pretty seriously, and during heavy use, he told me about his experience with it. He kind of beat it up, roughed it around, and it held zero, and he loved it. And during that class, I learned to love it because I was able to quickly and accurately engage targets from 200, 300, 400 yards just using the reticle in this guy. And obviously, you could do the same with the Arken because it has that Christmas tree. Now, let me get into the primary arms here and why I originally wanted to return this optic. Number one reason is going to be the illumination. Now, the parallax knob over here is a little loose, but I won't knock it for that because I'd rather it be loose than to be super tight like my Vortex is. This guy back here is the Strike Eagle 5 to 25 first focal plane. It's a super tight parallax. It's a pain in the ass. I have to pick my head up off the gun to find it and like really intentionally grip it and turn it. So that's pretty annoying on that $700 Vortex Strike Eagle. That's kind of loose, which kind of makes me feel like it's a little cheaper. This guy's, the zoom knob is pretty smooth. There's no throw lever on it, which I wish there was. But the illumination on this guy is pretty bad. It's bright. It's very bright. The problem is it floods out of the illuminated portion and floods into other parts of the reticle and also floods on the outside of the glass. It just makes it kind of unusable. Even on the lowest light setting, it's unusable because of all that flood. I would never use the illumination on this thing, which if that's not a big deal to you guys, then don't worry about it. I was putting bullets with this ballistic advantage barrel through the same hole using this optic and the chevron in the middle, which I really learned to love. So this guy did grow on me, and I'm officially determined that I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it on my modernized Mark 12 build here that you see. But the same thing goes to say for the Arken, but kind of the opposite. It's not really bright enough. I would say this is daylight bright, maybe not in the middle of the day, but like during the day, overcast day, you could see the illumination on this thing. But I still wouldn't use it because it's flooding all over your sight picture in this scope. So I wouldn't use it. But in this guy, it's the opposite. The illumination is very dim. So dim, in fact, it's definitely not daylight bright. Maybe end of the day or pitch black. Obviously, it's pitch black, you can see it, but it's definitely not daylight bright. So summarizing, what would I recommend you buy for your build? Well, I can't give the Arken any props besides just the fit and finish and it just feeling like quality. The one thing I will mention about the Arken that I don't like is that when you're on 4, coming off of 4, there's a little bit of a weak spot, it feels like. It just feels like there's some inconsistency where it kind of slips a little bit. There's a little bit of play there before you really get into the smooth, consistent throw of the zoom lever. So that's the one thing if I'm being nitpicky on that. The parallax on this guy is super smooth. It's right where you want it to be. It's not too hard. It's not too soft. Like this guy, this guy's pretty easy to turn. I don't like, it feels cheap in my opinion, but this guy's right where you want it to be. The illumination knob really hangs over. It's kind of massive. Everything about the scope is massive. So if you're trying to build a lightweight, slimline build, don't go for the Arken. It's just huge. There's no way around that. So my first impression is it's a great value. I think I'm going to grow to really love this scope. I'm planning on putting this on my 308 and then moving that Vortex to my 338 Lapua because I just need the top end of 25 if I want to shoot a mile long without breaking the bank and buying a Leupold Mark 5 or a Trijicon 10 mile, something like that. So in the meantime, I'm probably going to just slip this guy onto that 308, throw that guy on the 338 so I can start shooting extreme long range. But I can't really give you guys the recommendation to go ahead to buy this thing. But for the money, for $450 with the mount, with the caps, with the bubble level, all of it, I think it's a good value, and the jury's still out on that. I'll let you guys know as I get some time behind this thing what I think of it. I will say after shooting this primary arms, I cannot complain about it. For $279, this thing is actually a fantastic scope. I put it through its paces. Now, I'm not on a super high recoiling platform. This is a 5.56 with an 18-inch barrel. It's super buttery smooth to shoot with a brake on there. It's super buttery. But with this platform, the way that you see it right now, I was very pleasantly surprised and very happy shooting this thing. In fact, I hit 1,000 yards on my 308, and then afterwards I was more excited to get on this thing and shoot 200, 300, 400, 500 yards because of how easy it was to track my shots. It was hardly any recoil. It's kind of like almost like shooting a 22. It is a 22 caliber, all you goons out there. It's a super light recoiling platform, and with this scope and with that R-Grid 2B reticle, I was able to make adjustments without having to dial anything, going from 2, 3 to 4, and just writing down my dope and being able to know what my holdovers were using the scope, it really grew on me. So I'm actually going to keep it. This thing didn't come with the mounts. Obviously, I got an ADM mount on here, and you could spend a lot less by a Aero Precision single piece mount. A lot of good mounts out there, but a lot of the good ones like Scalar Works, like the Geisley, like the ADM, are going to run you a lot of money. So after you incorporate the mount in there, this guy, you know, the price jumps to about where the Arken is, but the Arken came with the mount using that discount code. They're almost punching head to head. Now you get a 14 top end on this guy and you get a 16 top end on this guy. They're both first focal plane, so they're both going to give you that applicable holdover no matter what zoom you're at. I do like that this guy comes with a little bit higher of a top end, but like I said, the jury's still out on this. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for hanging out to the end of the video. It means a lot to me. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. If you're a return viewer, then thank you for your loyalty, you sexy YouTube warriors. And until next time, stay safe, stay dangerous. Range Day Bro, out.